All right, everyone. Welcome on this nice Thursday evening or night or morning, depending on where you're at. Um, this is Matthew from Humanware, and this is the Mystic Access tutorial webinar. We're going to do a quick roundtable between the three of us. There's three presenters here. There's Kim, Chris, and myself. And then we'll get started. The format of this webinar will be very simple. We're going to do about a 20 to 30 minutes of just talking about the tutorials that came out. And then we'll open up the floor for questions. We're expecting to finish this in about 45 to 60 minutes. I'm going to start. My name is Matthew, as I mentioned before. I'm the product manager at Humanware, in charge of all the audio assistants like the Victor Reader Stream, Stratus, and Trek, as well as the GPS products such as the Victor Reader Trek, once again, and the Standard Trek. With us tonight is Kim and Chris. I'll let ladies first. Kim start.
Hello, I'm Kim Nova. I'm Director of Product Development at Mystic Access, which basically means that if a creative idea comes up, I'm usually the one who does most of the outlining and then we turn that into a product. So that involves a lot of recording, it involves a lot of editing and other things that we will get to. But basically, I take an idea that hopefully people are interested in and market research that and see what I think about the interest level that people are going to have, and then I turn that into an audio product for you guys to be able to navigate and listen to and learn from. And there's a lot more that goes into it. That's who I am in a nutshell.
Right, Chris.
And I'm Chris Nova, and Kim and I both have the same name as we are married,
We
and
are
we're celebrating 2 years tomorrow. So that's kind
tomorrow.
of fun.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
We should have waited till tomorrow then.
No.
So what are you doing at the Mystic Access, Chris?
So I am the founder of Mystic Access. I do a lot of the behind the scenes work, manage the website. Hopefully, if things break, hopefully I can fix them. On the website, we manage the downloads. We also have the podcasts that we manage, and so we do a bi-weekly podcast as well. But as far as the front facing, that would be Kim. She's the front facing, and I'm kind of just there in the background.
Pulling the strings.
Yes.
There you go. All right. So, in keeping with the wedding team, so we are gathered here today because
Something
of
like
the
that.
Something like that.
so to celebrate the launch of the Mystic Access tutorial for the Stream 3. So, um, we've just released it today. It's become available about 8 hours ago on both the Humanware website on the support section, as well as on the mysticaccessdownloads.com webpage. And Kim, Chris, and I were talking just before the webinar, and we are saying we're already over 100 downloads just on their website. I don't have the stats for the Humanware website, but it's boding very well. We're happy that people are very interested. We know this has been, we've been teasing it for a while. I started talking about it, I think, back in January probably on Jonathan Mosen's podcast where I first mentioned it. And it's finally here, and it took a little while, but it was well worth the wait. Trust me. Um, just as a little point of information, this session is being recorded. It'll be uploaded on YouTube. So if you or any friends, if you want to re-listen to it, or you have a friend who wants to listen to it, it'll be on our YouTube channel by before Monday. So we will upload that there. And yeah, that's it. So if you have any questions, as I mentioned at the end of the session, well, not at the end, but after we've talked about it a little bit, we'll open up the floor for questions. You can either raise your hand or you can ask the question in chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. We'll make sure to answer as many people as we can. We've got a little bit over 50 participants. I'm seeing 54 attendees right now, so pretty happy about that. And yeah, so we'll get started. Um, so basically, Kim and Chris, this is not the first tutorial you make for Humanware, obviously, or for any AT products for that matter. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've done with us and with other technologies in the past in terms of tutorials?
Let's talk about the first tutorial we've ever made
There you
Together.
go.
together.
That's a
Yep.
good place.
Yep. That's a good starting
And
place for many reasons.
that that would be in 2015. I approached Kim and I said, would you do a Victor Reader Stream second generation audio tutorial? Now, this is something that we did ourselves,
Hmm.
and she laughed at me and she said, "Why would we want to do a tutorial for that product? Not that it was a negative thing, but that there was stuff out there already, documentation and things like
including
that."
audio documentation.
Right.
Hmm.
So you said what?
I said, hmm. I said, after looking at it, I think we can do something better. I think we can create something that has a little bit more robust features in terms of the audio. And I've never done anything like this in the field of assistive technology before, but I'm willing to give it a go. Let's see what can happen. What's the worst that can happen, right? So we put it together and bought a mixer and on a shoestring developed the second generation string tutorial, which was about 8 hours in length, a little over 8 hours. And that in turn caught the interest of Humanware.
Hmm.
And they discovered us as a result of that, and that led to the the Braille Note Touch, the original Braille Note Touch documentation that came out in, when was that, 2016?
That was early 2016. Yes.
So that was our first official Humanware product, but had it not been for that second little stream documentation, the first thing we did together,
Yep.
we may not have come to their attention. So since then, it's been Braille Note Touch Plus and Brilliant, various Brilliant products, the 14 and now the 20 and 40, products. So, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the world of our collaborations with Humanware, as well as we've done collaborations with Dolphin as well for some of their products. We've done the Blind Shell phone,
Hmm.
so we've had a lot of various products that we've liked to dive into over the years. And then of course we've done things like on, various things like Android and iOS and screen readers and some of the things that you hear about, as well. But then we like to be troubadours. We like to dive in and do things that are a little different sometimes too. So our second major project together was the Amazon ECHO or ALEXA devices.
Hmm.
So, that was the second big project that we put out, and the rest is history. Here we are. Still
There we
doing it
go.
8 years later.
It's a little bit of return to your roots, though, doing the Stream 3 tutorial now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, back to the where it's all started, so that's good.
Most
And
definitely.
one of the things that I'll mention right now is that so back then, as you mentioned, the second gen tutorial was an initiative that was taken on your part. So that was
Mhm.
something that you were selling on your own. It wasn't a collaboration with Humanware and everything, but it was something that we did notice because it was such a good quality, high quality tutorial that we eventually started selling it, on behalf of you guys as well.
Yep.
And now I'm really pleased to announce that this Stream 3 tutorial will be made available for free to everyone. So this is not something that is paid. You don't even have to own a stream to download it. It is available on, as I mentioned before, our support site as well as mysticaccessdownloads.com, and you can go and download it completely free in both DAISY format and MP3 and start listening to it. So even if you don't have a stream, you don't know what a stream is, you want to, get acquainted, see if it's a product that's right for you, or if you do have a stream and you want to learn more about it, how to use it. I'll say I had to go through listening to the whole thing, and we'll talk about the
Oh,
length and everything. It is such a high quality. It is such a great document for everyone on the spectrum that both you've never owned a stream before, or if you're a long time you had a stream one and a stream two and now you're switching to stream three. We It really goes over both from a brand new user perspective as well as someone who has a little bit of experience. So when there's areas like, for example, the menus that changed from the two to the three, Mystic Access really takes the time to walk you through what the differences are for a previous user of the stream too. So I think that's great. And speaking of it, the current tutorial, so this new stream 2 tutorial we're launching now, can you tell me a little bit more about it? Like how long is it? Who's on the recording and all of that? Kim?
yeah, you betcha. Well, you're stuck with 12 and a half hours of yours truly. So I will apologize in advance for anyone, including yourself, who had to listen to me for days and days to have to
It
hear
really
all of
wasn't that
this.
bad.
You listen to one thing long enough though, and it just kind of becomes this hum in your head, like, oh, I'm still listening to this person. But no, it's a lot of material, as you said. There's a tremendous focus on, kind of getting started. But once you learn a lot of the initial concepts, as with
Hmm.
many things, you're going to find that things get easier as you go, and you'll kind of see that in the progression of the documentation as well. So 12 and a half hours. There's no fluff. This isn't a podcast. I want to stress that, because a lot of times people think, oh, you're recording recording all these things as little podcasts. No, 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 no. No, there's no filler in this. So have you not listened to us before and you're kind of thinking, who are these people? What are they doing? I encourage you to download it and give it a try because you're getting 12 hours of instruction and advice and demo as well. So if you kind of want
A
to see
lot.
what this thing looks like in action, exactly, you'll be have the ability to do that very easily because I'm always playing with it. I'm always showing you things and I'm always telling you what I'm doing. So if you are new to the stream particularly and you've just begun with a stream 3, have your stream out when you're listening and follow along with me. Don't hesitate to play with it and pause me as you go and you'll be able to kind of follow along and learn from what you're hearing, learn from the examples that I'm sharing. So, yeah, totally free to you. 12 hours, 5 different main parts. So, you're going to learn about the basics. What is a stream? What are the differences between the stream 2 and the stream 3? And we're going to learn about things like the user guide, key describer mode, bookmarks, lots of information on the various bookmarks. Had a lot of fun with that section. That was a fun update from the 2. I actually did more with it. And by popular demand, there is a full section on typing and learning to type with the stream. So I
Yep.
expanded that tremendously from stream 2 as well. And then you have sections on the offline bookshelves. You can play your music and read your NLS Bard books and various things and other books and podcasts and all these things you can do text files. There is a section about online books. So how do you get online? How do you use Bluetooth? How do you download podcasts and listen to internet radio stations? And there are sections on NFB Newsline and Bookshare and of course NLS Bard. And there's even a Sela section. Matthew let me play with Sela, so that was
There you
really
go.
fun for me. Yeah, that was great. I've never gotten to play with it before, so that was a fun one for me to get to experience and enjoy a little bit as well. And then there's an entire section on the Humanware Companion. So if you want to be able to use that as a resource to help you download books perhaps a little more intuitively to your stream, then that's available for you. It's something you can do. And then finally, there's what I always call the marvelous miscellany. So it'll let you know about troubleshooting tips and how to lock your stream and a few other things that really didn't seem to fit quite anywhere else. So that kind of ended up in part 5. So it's well organized and it'll take you from those foundational concepts of what is this thing and what am I doing with it, all the way up to troubleshooting concepts and more advanced topics.
At the end of each part, there's little surprises in there. Tell us about what those surprises are.
Yep, this comes from my years of coaching because long before I was doing this, I was spending time as a personal life coach for people, and I have a psychology background as well, so that usually creeps into these somewhere. So we have 2 little sections at the end of each part, which essentially just kind of remind you of what you've learned, and that yes, you have in fact actually learned something. By the end of a part, you may feel some overwhelm, you may feel a little bit of this is a lot of stuff. Can I really handle this? And these sections both encourage you to continue on with the journey and remind you of things that you've learned, and also give you a little bit of proactive homework. Say, hey, have you been playing with this yet? Have you been playing with your own? If you have one, then you may want to try this, this, and this. Because we're at the end of this part. I might give you some specifics as to what to play with and maybe some things to test and some things to consider before you move on to the next part. This is not something, by the way, please, to listen to in a day. Take it
No.
slow, please.
Yes. I was actually going to mention that. Like, it is something that being 12 and a half hours, I mean, obviously you could listen to it in a single day, but I would really recommend against it. I would recommend going, it is split in 76, 77 chapters. So it is very well split in different sections. So it is very, very useful to take a few, go bite size, do half an hour, and then just stop, either play with it or go do something else, go do the dishes, whatever, and then come back to it. And I would recommend going, I went over it in about 4 days, but I was really going at it intensively because I was reviewing it for content and whatnot. I would probably recommend doing it over 1 to 2 weeks, to go over the whole thing and then go at your own pace, and one of the things that I'll mention, Kim said that there's no fluff, and she's completely right, there isn't, but there is a lot of repetition. So very often she will, she'll mention something, and then about an hour and a half later, she'll come across something else, and then that relates to that first thing, and she'll mention it again to
Hmm.
refresh your memory. And it is done in a super well, a very good natural way that promotes learning through repetition. It's not like we're not talking about Barney the dinosaur here. It's not that kind
Oh,
of
please no.
repetition. But it is very it is very natural. It doesn't feel like it's repetitive. It is just good repetition. It just ingrains it into your mind, and then that's how you learn. I thought it was really well done, and this is coming from, my 9 to 5 job is to, well, 9 to 8 today, is to work on the Victor Reader stream. So obviously I know it like the back of my hand, but I found it very informative still. I found it like very pleasant to listen to. It was not a chore at all. I did it over a weekend. I was playing video games and listening to it at the same time and taking some notes. And there weren't that many notes because Kim did a fantastic job. And then, yeah, this is where we're at now. Um, so Kim, we mentioned it's 12 and a half hours.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming this took, if we include the editing and everything, it took about 13, maybe 14 hours to make.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah,
absolutely.
sure. You betcha. No. Anytime I talk about recording, I say do about 4 times that for the amount of editing that you're going to get, especially when you're in a really labor intensive part. Take something like some of those, oh, I don't know, some of the early sections in particular were
Mhm.
just mind-numbing for me to go back and re-listen to. And then you're trying to get all the little things out, and making sure that you've not said something you didn't mean to say, or had a frustrating moment. You got to make sure to get that stuff out, because you don't need that in there for people to listen to. So you're always trying to make it sound good, make it sound smooth, professional, and that's time consuming. So there's a tremendous amount involved in editing, and then just playing with it, because when we got our hands on it, this is a fairly new product. So we were playing with it and learning it as well, in spite of the fact that we've been users of previous streams. Both of us have used the other two generations of stream, as well as Trex and things like that. So we're learning all the new ins and outs of this particular device and getting used to it, and learning what's different. And so between the outlining and the recording and the editing, and then all the things that I know Chris will talk about that he did to it, you're looking at well over 100 hours probably that goes into the whole
Wow.
product. Yeah.
That's a lot of work. And yeah,
Yep.
we started discussing this back in February or January, February, when we
Yep.
announced the launch of the stream and everything. But yeah, obviously, and this is obviously not either of you's full-time jobs, so it's not like you can put in 40 hours a week, have it done in 2.5 weeks, and that's it. Like, this took a
Exactly.
few months.
Yes.
But as I mentioned before, the wait was well worth the time. It is a fantastic document. And I'm surprised to hear though that Chris did anything, because I listened to the whole thing and not once did I hear Chris. I didn't think he did anything. What'd you do, Chris?
Well, so here's the deal, right? So Kim puts her final stamp on the audio. So what I did is I took a Victor Reader Trek and I loaded up all these files into the other books folder. So there was one big folder, and I listened to it just like you did, and I found issues. And while I was finding, it wasn't a lot of issues. I think there was like 21 issues or something, and I was bookmarking them with the Trek. And then in some instances, I made an audio bookmark when I said, you really should have said this, or you should really should have done that, or what have you, or remind you of those kinds of things. So we used the power of the bookmarks feature in doing that. So then what happened is she was able to jump to the bookmarks, find out where she was in a file, go make the changes. It took probably 2 hours
Yeah.
to make the
About 2 hours.
changes, and then we sent them to Matthew for his enjoyment,
Hmm.
and he came back with, I would say, probably what, 10
Yeah, 10
little
or
Yeah,
20.
10 to
Yes.
12 notes.
10
Yeah.
or 10 or
something
12.
like that.
Not much.
And once that's done, then there's this whole daisy process in building the book.
Hmm.
So what I have to do then is listen to it again in real time.
So he and I have both heard it like 3 or 4 times by now and are losing our minds like completely.
So it's another 12 hours, and then you have to mark. So we manually mark the daisy marks, the headings, where they are of importance.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't
you'll
do that automatically. He's forced to listen to me all the way through at normal speed again.
Yep.
right. So that's kind of how that works. And then we build the book, and then the book, the Daisy production software that we have, creates both the Daisy and the MP3 versions. So basically, what we do is we copy the MP3s out into another folder, drop them into that folder, make a playlist, zip up both books, if you will, and send them off.
There we go.
So, so that's what my part was in all of this.
With that being said, though, Chris, we have another tutorial that's coming out in a couple of months, where we'll be able to hear you on it, right?
Yes, so I will be going out and getting myself lost in
On
the
purpose.
world of the Stellar Trek.
There we go. So I've already had a little bit of a preview. The Star Trek's another tutorial that will be available for free for anyone who wants to listen to it, whether you're a Star Trek owner or not. And once again, it is a little bit of the same principle. We'll Kim and Chris, and for this one, it's really there's Kim and Chris on the recording both, and they go back and forth. I really enjoyed it, and they will go over what's the difference between the Victor Reader Trek and the Stellar Trek, and go over the more advanced features of the Stellar Trek. So that'll be available once again for free, within the next, I would say, by October. Would that be fair to say?
Most
Yes,
definitely.
Perfect. So yeah, we're really happy about this new tutorial. We're super excited to have it available for all of our customers. And actually, the next thing that I was going to talk about, there's a question in the Q&A from Mary that actually discusses it. So I'll read the question, and I'll let you answer, Kim. So as features are changed or added, will the tutorial be revised, or will we be directed only towards a what's new document?
Oh, great question, Mary. Absolutely. There will most definitely be updates. So, as new features arise, I will be recording them into the current documentation and they'll be available for your listening pleasure. So, you'll just re download and you'll have access to all the new goodies. So, just re download the version that you want or versions and put them wherever you were playing them before, and you'll be able to listen to all the new goodies in their relevant spots.
There we go. There will also be obviously a what's new document, as I always
Sure.
produce when we have a new version out, but which will outline the. We'll go a little bit more. So the tutorial is more an how to use guide. So for the 1.2 version, for example, we're looking at adding tune-in as an example is something that we're working on currently. It is going very well. We're close to submitting to tune-in for certification process, because they have to certify it before we can make it available. So that's going to be done pretty soon, and we're I would say about 90-95% certain we'll have it in 1.2. It's not certain yet, and I've always said so, but it's looking good. But once we have that, then Kim will be recording a whole section on TuneIn, how to use it and how to listen to radio station, add the favorite, add the go to a podcast and all of that. And there will be differences that will be important to outline, because for example, the podcast that we currently have on the stream are RSS feeds that you can subscribe to and download episodes locally to your machine. Whereas on TuneIn, it is a streaming podcast, so you can't really you can add a podcast feed to your favorites, but you have to manually go check it. It's not going to download episodes for you automatically. So there will be some small differences that Kim will be going over in the Mystic Access tutorial. Whereas the What's New document will go a little bit more into the nitty gritty of bug fixes and stuff like that. We're working on some improvements on the SD card front, for example. So we know that SD cards currently that are 256 gigs or larger, some have a harder time being read, and sometimes it takes a really long time to refresh the bookshelf and everything. So we're working on improvements on that. We're adding the number 5 key back to podcast. That was an oversight. It's going to be back in the 1.2 version. You're going to be able to press 5 on your podcast episodes. There are a few things like that that we'll be adding. There are things being done for the European market, for example, dynamic menus for Daisy Online. That is more for Germany and Finland, if my memory serves me right. It's kind of late at night right now, but yeah. So there will be a lot of stuff like that that will be in the what's to document that might not be in the Mystic Access tutorial because they're more bug fixes than how tos. Um, I think that about covers all that we wanted to talk about. I said 20 to 30 minutes. We did 25, so right in the middle.
Yep.
Kim and Chris, is there anything else you want to mention before we open up the floor for questions?
I
Just the
did
Yeah, go ahead,
I
and then I'll
did just
mention
want
something
to,
too.
yeah, I just wanted to mention something. Somebody asked me, how come you didn't wait until 1.2? And I'm like,
Hmm.
because then it would never get released, because then we'd have to wait for 1.3
Yep,
and 1.4. So you
Mm,
have to put a line in the sand, put out what you have, and then add later. And what we do is we don't do what's new audio. We put the audio, as Kim said, back in the product. So you would re-download the product.
yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to add for those of you who don't know us, and I'm hearing some familiar names coming in. Betty was asking a good one in the chat a moment ago. So hi to you and hi to everyone here. But for those of you who don't know us, I think it's important to mention too that we're users of these products. This is stuff that we use on an everyday basis. So we're users like you are, and from that perspective, we really get it. We understand what you're seeing, and I mean, hopefully what you want to see in the course of creating these. I mean, we've spent 8 years doing this, so we talk to a lot of users of various products, and we kind of find out, well, kind of like you do, Matthew, in your job, what
yep.
you like and what you don't, and what we need to do better, and we appreciate all that feedback. It's very helpful. So
It's
it makes such a huge difference in what we're doing and how we create things. So as users, we're passionate about the products we release, and what we are working on in regards to the products that you guys love, like the stream. We want to be able to, give you great examples. And, as users, I think it's powerful for us to be able to say, hey, we use this just like you. And so we understand your struggles very well.
absolutely, and I value for me, customer feedback is key. I come from a background of, I've worked in customer service. I've worked at tech support at Humanware. I've answered the phones doing tech support for Low Vision and the Victor Reader products when I first started Humanware. So for me, that customer feedback is absolutely key. I'm going to the BVA in St. Louis next week. I'm looking forward to that with Peter Tusick from Humanware. We're gonna have a table with you know our products and meet people and answer questions. And I know we're sponsoring an event for the Stellar Trek. We're going bowling on the Wednesday. I'm gonna go lose so badly at bowling because I'm so bad at it. But and people are gonna laugh at me because I'm sighted, and they're gonna say, "Oh, you're losing to blind people at bowling," and people are gonna laugh at me, and that's fine because I'm gonna have a ton of fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, it is that feedback that we get is so important. And another feature we're introducing in 1.2, which is going to be the suspend mode. So you're going to have the option in your Victory to stream in the menus, if you'd like, to have the power button do a suspend instead of a shutdown. And what that means is that if you suspend it, it's going to go in a very low power usage. The battery should last, if it's full, about 6 days in that mode. And then you can wake it up within 1 to 3 seconds. It's going to wake, if you press the power button, it's going to wake up again, and it's going to be ready to use immediately. So that's something we gathered from the feedback from our users, that the boot time is a little bit long and everything, and unfortunately we can't do a whole lot to shorten it. But what we can do is implement that sleep feature, that suspend feature. It's not a sleep, it's a suspend. And then if you have that feature enabled, and it'll be off by default, but if you have it enabled, power button will suspend. And if you want to do a full shutdown, it'll be an option in the settings menu. So that's another example of something that will be added to the tutorial once
Mhm.
it's live. And Kim should be getting a beta. Obviously, Kim is getting betas that not everyone gets.
No,
That's the
sorry, guys.
privilege. That's the privilege of doing these tutorials. But yeah, Kim will get a beta soon, and we'll be able to record. And we think it's going to be a great feature. And that comes directly from user suggestions and mentioning that, oh, boot time is a little bit long and everything. So uh, this is where we gather that, and we can make the best product possible. And as Chris mentioned, if we waited for 1.2, then the question would have been, why didn't you wait for 1.3, and so on and so forth. So we do plan on updating the product. I 1.2 is coming in most likely October, unless that's our target right now. I would say the latest November, but we're shooting for October. And then 1.3 will be coming in the first quarter of next year of 2024. And I'm hoping to have at least a couple updates a year, two, ideally three, but at least two updates a year for the first few years. And then the product will stabilize and we'll do updates as needed. But yeah, we're, really excited. I hope that I really encourage you all to go download those great tutorials, either in DAISY or MP3 format, listen to them and enjoy. So we'll go with the questions. The first one I'll take is from on chat from Betty, and then we have a couple raised ends that we'll take. Betty asks, is there any news from Audible? Thank you so much for asking, Betty. So we are in communication with Audible. Unfortunately, right now it is not slated to be for 1.2. The problem that we have with Audible is that the Audible Sync software does not support NTP, and as such doesn't recognize the stream. It is something that we emailed them about 2 years ago. We did mention that we're coming up with a new product that'll be using NTP, and then last year we reminded them. We sent them a stream when we were ready back in November. I remember it was the week before Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, because I'm Canadian, but I remember it was U.S. Thanksgiving. And then yeah, we worked with them, but unfortunately there was some miscommunication and so on that not a whole lot was done so far. We know that they did look at it and everything, but there's not a lot of progress that happened. Now we got an update a couple of days ago that they were going to give us a new update on August 17th, which is Thursday next week. So I'm currently waiting for that update. This is where we're at. I'm really hoping that they can get it resolved soon so that we can put it into the scope for 1.3 and have it ready for the first quarter of 2024, as I mentioned before. But no promise there. It'll really depend. On our end, we're, as soon as they tell us that they can do the work and they'll do it and it'll happen, then we'll start, making the UI, the bookshelf and everything for it. And we've got about a month worth of work to do on our end. But we can't really afford to start doing that work because there is a non-zero chance that they come back to us and say putting MTP in Audible is too complicated and we won't do it. I don't think that'll come to that, and I really hope not. But it is a possibility. So, and obviously we can't really afford to start working on integration if they don't ever support MTP. So we're waiting. It's kind of the a rock in a hard place a little bit, a chicken and the egg situation. But yeah, we do have an open line of communication with them, which is good. Got a bunch of raised hands. I'm gonna start with Abby here. I'm gonna click on allow you to talk so you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay, well, this is maybe way too obvious, but I tried to find the tutorial on both the Mystic Access and Humanware sites, and I may not have been in the right place. So where specifically on these sites can this tutorial be found?
Let me address the Mystic Access one. You go directly to mysticaccessdownloads.com. And
Ah,
if you're heading happy, you can literally
yes.
bounce down the page from heading to heading and find the tutorial.
Okay, so that's Mystic Access Downloads, that there's no dot in between anywhere in that.
Correct.
MysticAccessDownloads.com. Okay.
Correct.
All right. That's where I went wrong. All right.
You can also get from mysticaccess.com, there's the free downloads link, which free audio downloads rather, that takes you to the mysticaccessdownloads.com
Okay.
website.
Okay.
There you
Yeah,
go.
a while ago we split everything up, so now there's a podcast site and a
Right.
download site. So sorry for that confusion,
Okay.
but yep, it's on that's where all the free stuff is on the mysticaccessdownloads.com site.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And
Well, that was easy.
and
Yeah.
as far as Humanware goes, it's on the support website. If you go under the Victory Reader Stream 3, you then go into documentation, and it'll be at the bottom of the page
Oh,
under the user manuals.
okay. Yeah, I just didn't hit click on documentation. I thought it was below that or something. All right. Well, thank you, guys, so much. And Matthew, before I quit, before
Yes.
I let me just give you some quick advice about bowling, because I used
Sure.
to be a good bowler in my younger years. So one thing to keep in mind is it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. So you
Okay.
gotta really, yeah. And I've seen a lot of sighted people, they walk up to the thing and then they just swing, they hurry up the thing and then they throw the ball. We can't really do that as blind people, but try that and see if that, just kind of walk up there, just swing it and see what happens. So
Will
good
do.
luck.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Andy.
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to Jaina Literal now. Jaina, let me click on you here, and here we go. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, I just want to say thank you because I am a Braille teacher and I am expected to teach newly blinded students the Victor Stream and Braille from scratch, from the beginning, in 12 weeks. That is a very tall order.
It is.
So
Indeed.
they get really basic Victor Stream stuff, and I want to teach them everything, and I don't have time. And I couldn't share the second generation stream tutorial because that was a product that I paid for and couldn't share. Now I can make this available to everyone. I think that's a really big deal. And so I just want to thank you guys for working together so that now everybody has access to this tutorial and they can appreciate more of the features. So just thank you.
Thank you.
Aw, thanks, Jana.
It is great to hear. I'm super happy. This is why we do this, right? It is for people for kids from 5 to 95. Like it is for everyone, and I'm super happy. It's gonna make your life easier. Thank you
Yes,
so
thank you.
much.
This makes me very happy.
All right,
It's a great partnership. We all have a lot of fun working together.
all right. We're gonna go to Clinton Lindgren. Let me click on you here, and here we go. You can unmute yourself, Clinton, and ask your question.
Okay, I think I made it work.
Yep, you're
Yes, you
here.
did.
Oh, good. Yeah, see, I'm trying to do this on an iPhone, and unfortunately, VoiceOver is much too quiet based on the other stuff, so it's really hard to hear that unmute button. Anyway, um, I was just curious. I did get a chance to hear the first part of that tutorial, by the way. I was really glad to see that it
Awesome.
included the encouragement corner
Thank
that
you.
Yeah.
from the last. So that's definitely a good thing. I just had a little question about products and all that as to
Mhm.
whether or not or what the future of the Victor Reader Trek is going to be.
Sure.
I mean, are there plans for that to be upgraded, or are we more looking at keeping GPS and reading products separate at this point?
So currently for the Victor Reader Trek, so it's a good question because we released the Stellar Trek about a year ago. It was in August of last year. Victor Reader Trek for now, there's no plan of discontinuing it, but it is in maintenance mode, meaning that we have a relatively small team, and there's not a whole. We can't work on everything. So for now, the Victor Reader Trek, there's no plans for any updates besides map updates. So I do have, and I'm really hoping to have them out by the end of the month. But we are working on the new maps for the Victor Reader Trek. But in terms of software and everything, it is in maintenance mode. It is not being updated, but it is still being sold. It is still being manufactured. There's currently, as we speak, I don't have a plan. We take it honestly month by month. There's no saying that perhaps we'll say it by the end of the year we'll stop selling it. Perhaps we'll go till the end of next year. I don't know yet. What I can say is that once we announce that we stop selling it, we'll give you guys a few weeks of heads up. And then once the final sale is made, we still support it in terms of technical support, repairs, and all of that for 3 years after the last sale. So as it's looking right now, we're gonna have support till at least 2026. But yeah, in terms of updates and whatnot, it's an older platform, and unfortunately, we can't focus efforts on that right now. Where we are focusing efforts on the Stream 3 and the Stellar Trek. Is there may be a Victor Reader Trek 2 in the future. I don't know yet. It is being evaluated. We are, the stream and both the Stream 3 and the Stellar Trek are new. We're looking at how it pans out, and if there's demand, then perhaps we do make eventually a Victor Reader Trek 2. It is not out of the question.
Because if you had to, if you had to get both products, that can get pretty cost prohibitive after a while.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, for sure. It is it is but the thing is there's we're a small company, there's only so much we can do. But yes, I really hear it, and it comes back to what I was saying before. It comes back to user feedback. The more I hear, and we're still seeing some sales on the Victor Reader Trek. So as I said, it's not out of the questions that there might be a 2 in the future. Who knows?
Okay. Just curious about that.
All right. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for your question.
yeah.
Before I go to the next raised hand, there's another question in the Q&A section. Lana Van Horn, who asks, when will we get books alphabetically? That's a very good question. It is something that I see come up on the user lists and whatnot very often. It is, as I've mentioned several times in the past, the Stream 3 is a complete refactor. We completely redid. We didn't take the code from the Stream 2 and ported it. We completely redid it. And it might sound trivial, but it's really not, to get the book sorted alphabetically. And the problem that I have is that I'm hearing some feedback from people who like it the way it is right now and would rather keep it that way instead of having by alphabetical order. And that's where my job gets a little bit complicated, but in a fun way. One thing that I strongly believe in as a product manager is to give the customers, the users, agency. I want to make sure that we have as many, you can customize to a reasonable limit, obviously. But it is something that I would like to, I'm talking with the developers that we can put in 1.3, meaning early next year, but to have an option somewhere in the settings. And then when I say within reasonable limits, is that I don't want the settings menu to be like super bloated, but I would like the users to have an option to choose, sort by alphabetical order, most recently added, by author, whatever the case may be. So it is a feature that we are looking into adding for 1.3, perhaps 1.4, but I'm really hoping for 1.3. We're gonna go to Ulysses Gomez. Here we go. You can unmute yourself and ask away. All right, here we go. You're
Good
unmuted.
afternoon, Kim and Chris. And Matthew.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Kim and Chris. Kim, I gotta say thank you for emailing me this Zoom webinar invitation. Actually, this is actually my very first Mystic Access webinar.
Hey, yay! Glad
There
you
you
could
go.
join us all.
And my question for Matthew Paquette. Matthew, my name is Ulysses. I'm totally blind as well. And I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
The Victor Reader Stream 3, it has a SD card protector flap. Can you tell me what that is? Because I'm supposed to be actually getting mine very soon. Can you explain what that is, please?
Yeah, for sure. So over where the SD card goes is a little rubber flap that you can pull back, and it doesn't detach from the unit. It'll stay attached. It really just a little pull back, and then under there is where your SD card is. And the reason we've added it is because it offers a little bit of protection against dust, but it also offers some protection against accidental ejection. So very often, and I used to be in tech support, so I know this, we would get calls from people saying, oh, I'm not seeing any content in my offline bookshelf, only to find out that their SD card ejected without them knowing it. So
because my second generation Stream 2 is outdated, so that's why I want to be able to take advantage of the Stream 3 tutorial and my Stream 3, because I want to be able to do the software updates. Now, how often do the software updates come out, Matthew?
So currently the original 1.0 version released in February in the US. We had an update in was it in May? I think
April.
it was in
April,
May.
But sometime in April.
Sometime in April.
Sometime in April. Okay.
Sometime in April, and that was a quick one. Now the next one's in October. So I would say about 6 to 8 months between releases.
When I get my new Stream 3, will I be able to check the actual version number by pressing the number 5 key and
press and hold the 5? Yes.
Press and hold it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Is that covered in the Stream 3 tutorial?
You betcha.
It
goes through the whole update process.
Keep up the webinars coming. I would like to be invited for more of these in the future, guys. Thank you, Kim and Chris.
Of course.
And Matthew, I tried to email you, but I cannot spell your last name. So if I need any assistance on my stream 3 or whatever, I cannot spell your last name or your first name either. I tried to email you, but I could not spell it. So.
But I would strongly encourage you, if you need any kind of support, just you can either email our support team, support@humanware.com, or give them a call. They're fantastic folks. They love to talk to you.
Okay, for sure, Matthew. I'll try to email you if I have any questions at support.humanware.com. For sure.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to Scott Herrickson. I think Scott's up fairly early for this. If
I think he
Yes,
is.
he is.
All right, Scott, you can unmute yourself.
G'day, guys. It's
Hey,
actually not that
Scott.
early. It's 10:46 a.m. on Friday.
Okay,
Oh,
hey,
it's
it's
not
not
too
as
bad.
early as
Gonna
we
be-
thought.
Right.
How's the
I can
future?
assure you.
Yeah,
oh,
how
the
is-
future's good. Yeah, it's going to
Good, good.
rain. It's going to. No, I'm only joking. No, it's not going to rain where you are. Hopefully, you guys have been reading about all the fires in Hawaii, so it's a bit
Oh,
Yeah.
so
scary
awful.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess a couple of things. Firstly, awesome tutorial. I've already started listening to it.
Oh,
I was
thank
up early, so but look, my other question was around larger capacity SD cards. I think you know where I'm going with this, Matthew. I've got a 1 terabyte card that
Mhm.
seems to do the. I think a while ago, I think I flicked you the
Yeah.
the model, but it's really strange because occasionally it'll appear, and then you'll start copying things to the card, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden you get a indication that the stream's disconnected from the computer, and it just you have to restart it, and the card just isn't seen again for a while, and then magically it'll show up, and then it won't, and then so I'm not sure. It's a brand new card. It's
Yeah.
Stream works with other cards and such. So yeah, I just thought maybe it was something to do with higher capacity cards.
Yeah, it is. It is. Any card that's bigger, that 256 gigs and bigger, we're seeing some kind of issues, and we thought, oh, it's probably just off-brand cards and whatnot, but no, we're seeing it with like Kingston card and Samsung cards, like very well-known,
cool.
reliable brands. But some will work, and then we'll get the odd like $5 512 gig card from a complete like Chinese brand that no one's heard of, and it'll work
Yeah, and they
perfectly.
work. Yeah,
So
yeah, I know.
it
Well, I
is
bought
a bit
bought it from
stumping.
Amazon. Because I
Yeah.
thought, and it's SanDisk. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
and I just thought this is interesting because that was one. I mean, for me, it was one of the selling points. Fill the stream up with books.
Terabyte of music, and we're making a lot of improvements in 1.2 on SD cards. Is it going to be 100%? I can't know because there's so many cards out there, but we think that we've made some very good progress on that.
Just one other quick thing: music bookshelf. I have. It seems to struggle if I put more than 14 folders in the music bookshelf.
Okay, I'll
of artists. It seems to 14. It gets a bit confused. It just I can't really describe it. I'll have some more playing and write to you because I did send you those lovely books.
Okay, well, we'll take a look
Well,
because we've tested with cards with a lot more than 14, and we didn't have any issues.
No, this is on the internal memory.
Oh, in the internal memory. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm taking a note here. We'll definitely take a look at it.
Cool. Well, good. All right. Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
guys. And
Thank you.
enjoy the future.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Will do. Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
All right. We're gonna go to I think it's in this order. So Tina Henson is the next one. So let me go with Tina. All right, Tina. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to report a couple of minor bugs on the NLS board. I don't think the previous downloads feature is working right. I tried it once and I got an error message. Also, the disabling key beeps. For some reason, even when I press play in something, I still hear that beep, and it should be silent.
Well, so if you have the key beeps enabled, you'll hear it. It's not a. Here's the thing: it's not really a key beep; it's a start of play beep. I know it's a subtle difference, but it's what it is.
Yeah, is there a way to just shut that up completely? Because right now I'm still hearing it and I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that if I want to just get back into it.
I hear you. Okay. I'm taking
Yeah,
notes.
and then do you know what's up with the previous downloads thing in NLS Bard? Because that doesn't seem to be working for some reason. I tried it once and it failed to go through. I got an error message.
Do you know what the error message was?
It was something like request didn't want to execute, failed to execute request, something like that.
Okay, honestly, for that one, because we've had people use that feature successfully, I'd recommend giving obviously we're not going to do some troubleshooting here, not to bore everyone, but I'd suggest calling the tech support line. They might be able to help you.
Yeah, and maybe it's just that my unit's a little bit older.
Okay.
You know, maybe it's just because it's a first unit.
It's a Stream 3?
Yeah, it's a Stream 3.
Oh, then it can't be that old. So no, it's not. That's not the issue at all.
I think maybe it was an updating issue or something. I don't know. I'll have to check that, but
okay.
I'll have to check that. But I did want to let you know, and then
Appreciate
that key beeps that get the start playback beep. I'd like to just disable that completely.
Okay, I hear you. We'll take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tina. All right, so we've got 5 raised hands right now left to answer. We'll take the 5 and then we'll let go. So I have we're gonna have David a phone number here. So I don't know what the name. Joshua, Jean, and Marcia. And we'll start with David. So David, here we go. You can unmute yourself and ask away.
Am I coming in?
You are.
Okay, this is David. I want to ask again, did I understand that the Humanware companion now works with the Stream 3?
So it does currently, it will work if you have a card. No, it'll work if you have a card reader and you can do the card separately.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. The other one is I want to bring up the magazine alphabetization thing again. It's almost useless. I now have to use my 2 for my Audible files and also for my magazines. I get The Economist, which is an expensive magazine, and I went up there and I know what day it's supposed to show up, and it took me 40 keystrokes to get to The Economist to find out it was the one I already had.
Okay, and that's on Bard?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's a bug. People might have some use for alphabetization, but that's only if they're storing all of their magazines in a file somewhere. It's terrible for downloading.
Yeah, it is something we're looking at as well. So
I know.
Along with books, yeah, for sure.
Because suppose I want a magazine that starts with Z or something, I would be there all day trying to get down to it,
Well, it is circular, so you could go the opposite way and you'll get there.
Okay, so it's something that starts with M or N.
Yes, M or N would be hard. So I just wanted to add real quick on the companion side, though, that we have an update for the companion that is planned later this month that will support the Stream 3. It took it took a little bit longer than we wanted. We were supposed to get it in March, and there were some delays for logistical reasons, but it is almost ready. We finally got final approval and certification and everything done, so it should. I'm hoping to release it. Fingers crossed. The week I come back from the BVA.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that the tutorial is going to tell me how to use the 7 and the 4 and 6 keys to get to all the different features. I want to change this, and you got to be in the right place in order to make that work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the other one was because one of the ones I want to do is I had to send my stream back, my 3 back for repair, and it came back, of course, totally erased, and I have to put in, the Wi-Fi and everything. And I know I had found somewhere in there, read from file. I couldn't find it. So,
But yeah, you'll see the tutorial really goes through how to connect to Wi-Fi, both using the companion and using the device directly.
Okay.
It's all very well spelled out in there.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, David. So we're going to move on if we want to finish at 9. So here's a number in area code 518. I don't have a name, but I'm going to allow you to talk. All right, there we go.
This is Mary Beth. I'll make this quick. First off, happy extended anniversary, Tim and Chris.
You.
A little testimonial to the wonderfulness of the Humanware tech support people. Thank you, Chris, for saving me again. And here's my question. I'm probably not going to buy a Victor Stream 3 until Audible comes on it. Does it do any good for dedicated Audible readers like me to either write or call or tell them, you know, please move this up on your food chain, or is that just not worthwhile?
It can't hurt. That's all I can say is it can't hurt. If you want to,
I'll give it a shot.
Email support@audible.com or give him a ring. It really can't hurt to let them know that it is something that is very much wanted by our customers.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. All right, moving on. We're gonna go to Joshua here. Joshua, you can unmute and ask away.
Hello, hi, can you?
Yes.
Oops. Oh, sorry. There you go. Sorry. Okay, you guys can hear me? Okay.
Yep.
My quick question has to do with quick question, alphabetizing and SD cards.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the 3rd gen stream, one of the reasons why I did not get it, for me, I put lots of art books on SD cards, and I organize them by author, first name, last name, and in the folders I've got a series or novels. And to me, if they're not organized alphabetically, I won't be able to find anything because I use levels. You know, level 1, level 2. I use those all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have that, there's no way if I've got 1,600 books on a 256 gig SD card
Mm-hmm.
that I can go to the author that I want. It's not, you know, it's not doable. I mean, you can't find anything. And I know some people say they like stuff organized, date added, but I mean to me, I'm only one person. That just doesn't work. And having that option, like you said, to choose, that would be very, very beneficial to both people.
Absolutely.
But my next super quick question is about SD cards. I've heard on the stream list, some people do have this and some people don't. Like I've got this 256 gig SD card that's a formatted as FAT32 for my 2nd gen stream. And let's say if I get that on a 3rd gen stream, I'm hoping that even though the 3rd gen stream can take exFAT SD cards, which is great, you just buy your card, put you want, don't even got to worry about formatting it. It's great. But I want to know that I could put that card from my old gen stream, if I get the 3rd gen stream into the new one, and it will work correctly. I mean,
Yeah, so in exFAT, and this is not for the stream, this is in general, anything that's, I mean, for FAT32, anything that's larger than 32 gigs is sort of playing with fire. I mean, it can work very well, and some people use it very successfully, but FAT32 is a bit of an older file system that wasn't designed for such large formats. So I'm glad to hear it works fine on your stream too. And that's why we said on the stream 2 officially in the documentation we only support up to 32 gigs. Now obviously some people manage to make some bigger cards work, and that's good. And it should work also. If it works on your stream 2, it should work on your stream 3. Currently we do have some issues with larger cards, as I mentioned before, that we're working on, but in theory it should. So yeah, if you want to keep using it in both streams, then yes. If you're eventually going to use it exclusively on the stream 3, I would recommend formatting it in exFAT if that's the case.
Okay. So then Matthew, super quick, 1.2, you said it probably will. Is that when the alphabetizing will probably come back, or you're going to wait until the 1.3?
Yeah, that would be 1.3. As I mentioned,
1.3. Got it. Okay. Oh, got it. Oh, it has to do with the encoding or the code and all the programming and all that stuff. Okay. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much for your question.
Thanks a lot. Great presentation, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And we're going to go to, last but not least, we have Gene Mann here. So let me click on you here, and then we'll conclude. Here we go, Gene. You have the floor. You can unmute yourself. Hi, Gene.
Okay. I didn't know if you could hear me. Okay. I'm brand new to this. I just bought my first Victor stream at the ACB convention.
Okay.
So a couple things. I opened it, and what is everything in that box? All the cords and whatever those adapters and all those things are. And my second question is, when I find the tutorial and download it, if I listen to part of it and want to come back to it later, how do I get like to where I left off? I don't know, is there a way to bookmark it? I don't even know how to do that, but I'm not very technically savvy.
All right, so I feel like I've been talking a lot. Kim, I'll let you field this one.
Okay, so in terms of, I can definitely answer the second part of your question. So if you want to bookmark it, for one thing, if you have something other than your stream that you could potentially play it on, that
I'll
might
probably
be.
do it on a computer.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, that might be beneficial. So, if you're doing it on a computer, it might be a little more difficult to bookmark, but let's say you're listening to each MP3, because the MP3s are pretty, you're looking at maybe 30 minutes for one and then 20 minutes for another, something like that. So if you listen to one MP3 and you just keep in mind what the next one was that you wanted to start on,
Oh, okay.
or, something that you wanted to go back to, and you're like, because they're really well labeled. So you could say,
Okay,
I want to
good.
learn more about, say, all the stuff in the box, then you could go to the orientation section
Yeah,
and,
okay.
you'd be able to check that out.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah, so you'll have plenty of options there, and then when you're ready to put it on your stream, you can have it even more fun with it, because then you can bookmark with the stream and navigate, and you've got a little more flexibility that way.
Yeah, I have no clue how to do any of that yet, but
Yeah, you'll get there.
You'll learn.
You'll get there.
You'll learn. And in terms of the cables and the adapters and everything, so basically you have a USB cable that plugs into the the brick that goes into the wall, and then you do have there's I think 4 or 5 that are included in the box. They're international adapters. So there's one for North America, one for Europe, one for different regions of the world. So you just need to clip on, and Kim explains it in the tutorial, but I'll tell you now. You just slide it on to the block, and then it'll click in place, and then you'll be able to use it like any power brick for a phone or anything like that. And then the other countries you can just put in a shelf and keep them there in case you travel eventually.
Yeah, okay. I guess I really need to listen to the tutorial before I do anything. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Not a problem. Thank you. All right, so 9:02. We said it was going to be about an hour. It has been about an hour. So I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to thank Kim and Chris for their phenomenal work on this tutorial. And I'm going to let Kim and Chris, say the last words of the evening. So go ahead.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure. It's so nice to see familiar faces and new people, and it's always a pleasure to hang out and get to enjoy these webinars. And like I said earlier, it's always fun to partner with Humanware. There's always lots of fun things coming down the pipeline. I'm sure this will not be our last partnership, so we will continue this ride. And thank you for your support and for your patience. I know this has taken a long time for this baby to get out there, but it's been a labor of love, and it's taken a while. And like Matthew said, I hope it's worth the wait for you guys. So please enjoy it, and we hope you find a lot and get a lot out of it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.